So although like most of the things are to be learned by people from all the streams, but still like we are trying to tell you the nitty-gritties of different subject areas, how patent office examines applications from different subject areas. There are certain guidelines which are for there for pharma inventions, certain guidelines are for computer related inventions. So you will come to know the due course of time. I think Dr. A.K. Garg must have told you about some guidelines of patent office, or somebody must have told you there are some guidelines for computer related inventions. So there are some guidelines for biotechnological inventions. So there are differences. So now we have with us Dr. K. Satyanarayana. Basically, he is an advisor with the Biosec Unit, Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. But he has got a long history of working in ICMR, in CSIR. Dr. Satyanarayana holds a doctorate degree in biosciences, and after brief postdoctoral stint he joined the ICMR and headed the divisions of publication information and intellectual property rights. And then he has worked extensively in the areas of ethics, science and technology evaluation, IPR, technology transfer and regulatory issues. He has also obtained competitive grants from national and international agencies and has widely traveled and given talks on invitation at various national and international meetings on ethical issues, and has served as advisor to the Government of India and World Health Organization, Geneva. Is also the chair of the International Ethics Committee of Dr. RML Hospital and Postgraduate Institute for Medical Education and Research. And I must tell you, like, he has also carved out the first guidelines of ICMR, and anything related to pharma in this country, any new guidelines, whatever new happens, has gone through Dr. Satyanarayana. So basically all the doctors, they know Dr. Satyanarayana. And you are fortunate enough to hear from you. And Dr. Satyanarayana has been associated with this scheme right from the first batch, and has been associated with TIFAC ever since our inception. It's like long back, even before I joined TIFAC. So he has been associated and has supported us in all the endeavors of TIFAC, not only in women scientists but in other spheres of our components of TIFAC. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Sangeeta, for the kind words that you have said about me. Yes, I am with the TIFAC since its inception. I must congratulate the TIFAC for winning this scheme winning the award this year. I think it deserved it for a long time. How many of you actually are patent agents in this group? Nobody? You must do that. Okay, if you want to be a patent professional, you must aim to clear the okay. Right. And how many of you have a chemical sciences background?
Sir, is there any upper age limit?
We will get it changed if it is there. Because this time is meant for girls who, for any reason, leave the who want to get back to mainstream science sector. Thank you very much. So there are not many chemists. So some it may be a repetitive because you must have got sick about the novelty, non-obviousness and application. Okay, I will not talk about that. So you should, I will not talk about that. Okay. My perspective, you must understand intellectual property right is like a 7 blind men and an elephant. You must have seen by now. The law has a different perspective, innovator different perspective, and a technology manager. I am a technology manager basically. So each one, I give my perception of that, taking into account the using the IP law to the application in pharmacy. Okay. Right. So this is what I am going to touch upon in the Sangeeta. 40 minutes. Okay, that will take care of it. So this one, can all of you see the slide? No problem. So what we will take about why we are talking about intellectual property. Let's understand why we should talk about that. Of course, it will give all of you job. That's one issue. Besides that will have international, national perspective. That's very important. Understand this. You must understand in life root fundamentals. You must understand. It becomes easy. Let's go to understand the fundamentals of why IP is required. And then we'll think about the inventions in respect to pharmaceutical. And then I'm going to give you two case studies. Don't have much time today. So one is on the 3D, which you know is the okay, and then the next thing about compulsory, because both these cases have historical. They have transformed the Indian patent sector, plus they have also transformed the global discourse on patenting. Okay, they are very historical cases. I'm going to touch upon a very little, but all of you must download this material and keep it with you, because this is not end of it. 3D is the discussion. If you look at the Supreme Court ruling, which I am going to show a little later, is the beginning of debate on 3D. So you must understand the ground rules of the 3D for you to become a happy professional. Okay. Second is the compulsory licensing, which is a very important thing for countries like India and developing countries, because affordability of drugs is a critical issue, and CL will decide the access to medicine, which is the basic purpose of the Indian health system. Okay. Not very good. Right. First of all, you must see. I am going to show you two slides. One, those who support strong IPR, and second, those who oppose strong IPR. Let's hear both the views. First, let us hear what the fellows who push strong IPR say. They say that it stimulates innovation. Yes, it creates technology. Yes, in agriculture and industrial production rises. There is no problem there. It does promote innovation. It does promote industry and agriculture. To that end, that increases the productivity, and there is no problem there. Secondly, it promotes domestic and foreign investment. That means if you have intellectual property, people come to buy your technology and put a setup shop here. Okay. This is a little tricky. Who has technology, there only people will come and set up industry. Why IT is centered around the US? Because that around LA, that's where the IT innovation is created. We have some pockets of excellence in the country, but by and large, it is located only in United States. Because that's where innovation is. It doesn't happen in Zimbabwe or South Africa or India is a little better off. It doesn't happen in other countries, Argentina. Why does it happen? Because there is no technology there. So this is not completely true. Okay. Third is facilitates technology transfer and for the health sector. What it says is that if there is more innovation, more technology will come, and technology will get given to the other people, haves and have not solved business. It doesn't happen. Because there is this popularly we are fond of saying that you can't get technology for love or money. Nobody sells the technology if it is strategic sector. Problem with the countries like India is that we don't have access to space sector, for example. You must know about it. You must note down one. You can note down the cryogenic engine. It's an important example in technology transfer. The cryogenic engine is required for putting rockets into the space, and cryogenic engine. When India had a declared by explosion, US refused to do the cryogenic technology. India had to develop technology on its own. Okay. That means they are called as technology denial regiments. I have a technology in my pocket, it's my will and pleasure. I will give, I may not give you. Nobody can force me to give it. Okay. So this is not exactly true. This also happens with cutting edge technology even in health sector, for example. New drug comes, they may or may not, there is no mandatory for them to in the country, there is no market, they will not bring the drug to India. Simple that. So this also is a debatable point. Okay. And then it improve availability of medicine. We say that technology is there, more medicines will come, access will improve. This is not correct. We'll see the examples of 3D as well as here that it is not true. Okay. So it says it stimulates economic growth and contribute to poverty reduction. That what it says is if you create globally there are more IP generated, very country become rich. This is compound. India is still middle level economy, despite all the technology. Okay. So unless you create technology to own it, then only it will become rich country. Not because somebody else generated technology, you will not become rich. So this is the pro IPR, not IPR one. That's the opponents. Opponents say it stimulates innovation, and suppose they say that if you sign, all must complete WTO agreement. If you sign WTO agreement, your country will become innovative and become rich. That's what they made us sign in 1986. As the difference between 86 and 96, it's all bunkum. It's only a ploy to make us sign the agreement so that you have the international benchmark of WTO TRIPS, benchmark of patenting from 7 years in pharma, 20 years in pharma. Okay, that's the issue. Okay, and then it's irrelevant for people who don't have qualified engineers and scientists. There is a great innovation. How will you create innovation unless you have enough people who are qualified in scientific, enough engineers, enough scientists and doctors are there, then only you create new intellectual property. Most poor countries do not have the human resources to create new innovation. Okay, so that is there. And then even if they are created, for example, you have the Samsung iPhone 7, phones number 7 has come out this in the market. High technology, very nice, it's considered one of the best phones as of today. Even it has outsold Apple in the last quarter. Today's papers have said that. But how many people can afford a 60,000 telephone? Technology is there, but you cannot afford it. So is the case with some drugs. I am going to show you my example, anti-cancer drugs. They are available in the market, they cost 1.2 lakh per person per month. It is of no use to you unless you can access them. You can buy them or able to use them. Okay. And then technological competence limitation is there. And foreign firms crush domestic competition through IP. Because in the case of Gleevec, they have not manufactured in India, they imported from Germany. You don't have to really make anything. Phones you get are made in China. Isn't it? How does it help you to, if you have the technology generated elsewhere, you can't use it. Now people will benefit, you don't get jobs. Nor you have any improvement in terms of the ambience in the technology sector. Okay. And increase the essential cost that we will discuss in this one. So, and the most important thing, last to most, innovation driven by market. It means economy drives innovation. The multinational companies which own most IP in the world are the ones who set agenda. How many of you are following the treaty signed, Pacific Treaty signed by the United States? You must know better economics also. There are two kinds of treaties you must have been told about that, multilateral treaties and bilateral treaties. Multilateral treaties involve many countries, bilateral involve one country. These actually drive the intellectual property arrangements all over the world. Okay. Since we have part of the multilateral treaty in the WTO, we have to follow the WTO guidelines, whether you like it or not. And all the multinational corporations are for, in fact the WTO has been pushed by US, Switzerland, Japan, who are basically own IP. They are pushed to WTO so that all countries in the world come up to the benchmark of the TRIPS compliant regime. Okay. So always you must understand the global concept driven by the business section. Even today, those who oppose the compulsory licensing are those who are multinational firms. On balance, countries like India, which are the middle income countries and poor countries, do not actually benefit from stringent, that's the message I want to convey. We need to have a balance between the IP creation and the IP access to the general public. So this message you must always carry with you when you discuss about the intellectual property. Okay. And this clearly shows where we are. Low and middle income countries contribute just 21% of GDP, but only 10% of that R&D expenses they make. So if you don't have enough people to do R&D, you don't have enough money to do R&D, where will you create new innovation? That's an issue here. Okay. And OECD countries, which are the rich club of the European, they spend more on R&D than the GDP of many countries put together. They spend close to more than $500 billion on R&D. Many countries have a GDP of 10 billion, 20 billion kind of a thing. The R&D itself is $500 billion. So So they invest more money, they have more people to do R&D, so they create more IP, they own more IP. Okay. Industrial country, what if you look at intellectual ownership, the developed countries own 97% IP. Indian, I don't know how many are familiar with the Indian patenting. It was probably 25 to 30,000 patents per year, which is nothing actually. China makes about more than a lakh, US is 10 lakh. Our creation of IP itself is very, very low. Okay. So patent filing is still low. That's why I say we need to have a balanced approach between the intellectual property and the enforcement issues in the country.
Sir, what is OECD countries?
OECD.
Yes, sir.
OECD countries are European Economic Community. They are in the Europe basically. Plus a few countries outside Europe also. Japan is part of OECD. Okay. They are a group of countries who decide to work together for the purpose of trade purpose. All these are primarily meant to promote trade between them and export to the other countries.
So, sir, they are basically developed countries.
We are actually in the developing country.
No, OECD countries.
Yes, 100% developed country.
So, all member countries are developed
Not
countries.
all of them. Yes, OECD countries only 100% developed country. It's a rich, we call it rich boys club. Rich countries are put together so that they could have a club to enforce global policies. WTO has been pushed by the club of the developed countries in those days. US, Switzerland, Japan, possibly Canada at that time. Okay. So these lobbies are made to push this strong IP into the rest of the world, so that they can make more money from their products and processes. Okay. So let me quickly go to. I'm sure I must be familiar with all these. What is patent, what is not patentable. I'll quickly go through. So these are you must be familiar with this. What are patentable or what are not patentable. And then this is the what are not invention. This also is very familiar. You must heard many times, not once. About this, we'll skip this also. And this is critical. The 3D. You must also familiar with this. So what are? Look at the explanation given here, which is the critical part for the interpretation in the by the court. Okay. Then this invention, definite invention, the substance obtained by mere admixture. So what are not patentable? What are not inventable? Okay. So that's what happening now in recently must have read in papers that government has banned many combination drugs. Okay. This is a similar one. If you add admixture, you cannot get a patent for those which are added, patent of addition, patent added to it. Okay. And then this is the medical surgical processes, and then animal, plant animal, and mathematical business models, etc. So these are some sections relevant to pharmacy. 2.1J, novelty inventive steps, unintellectual applicability. 3D, where discovery of new form, known substance does not result in enhancement of known efficacy. I put therapeutic within the bracket because therapeutic was interpretation by the court, not basically. Here, discovery of a new and a new property of this is important because in India, if there is already a drug, for example, if there is aspirin is there. Aspirin is basically used for, antipyretic during the temperature. There are new uses being attributed to. So you can't get patent there in India. It's called a new use of a. Okay, so you have to be familiar with that. And then you have the 3E, picture, and 3P, invention, which is in effect a traditional art. That's a different ballgame altogether. And then let us go to Liebig study. So this is the first case study I am going to show you. In early 1990s, the German company Ciba Geigy, based in Basel, Switzerland, it was doing research on several compounds based on a US-based, two scientists have discovered in leukemia that leukemia is caused by a particular mutation due to a change in enzymatic composition. Based on the invention in a US laboratory by two medical scientists, the Novartis found a way to knock off the enzyme. So among the products that discovered was CGP 51418 in free base form. That was discovered, that will help in trying to stop the cancerous growth in the leukemia cell. Meanwhile, the Sibagate was bought over by Novartis, which is why it comes into picture. You must know mergers acquisitions are very common in pharma sector. So Sibagate was bought by the Novartis, and then the WHO gave this compound a non-proprietary name called Imatinib, okay, as an anti-cancer agent. Then the Sibagate filed a patent application in 1992 in EU, US and other countries in that. Okay. Subsequently, European and the US patent office granted the patent for this compound, that it is Imatinib and derivatives including salt thereof, but they did not mention the polymorph, okay, which is what is the part in the discussion. Okay. The patent of course does not specify any crystal forms of the compound and discuss advantages, etc. in the initial patent filed in 1990. Subsequently, 97, the Novartis filed a new patent application in Switzerland on the beta crystalline form of the Imatinib methylate. Okay. A specific polymorph, this is the polymorph patent. Of that, polymorph packs together the molecules and make it in a solid form, which is the form in which the drug is sold and administered. Okay. And in July 1998, Novartis filed this patent application in India. Madras Patent Office immediately also a PCT filing. Okay. This application claimed that compared to alpha form, the beta form had more beneficial properties, better thermostability and lower hydroscope. It has certain features which is less big to bind and they use for, because other non-crystal form cannot administer to patient. Polymorph only can be administered to patient, that's why they claim this is the form that can administer to patient. Novartis however did not provide any data at the time showing improved efficacy of polymorph. This is what happens. Many companies, they don't really take something very seriously while drafting application, which will hit you years later. Same thing happens in the other case study also. What you do innocuously, ignorance or indifference or whatever, negligence, it will come to hit you very much later. So what I forgot to mention here is inadvertently came to hit them later. Novartis did not ever provide any data showing improved efficacy of polymorph, that drug actually worked better in treating cancer than Novartis or one that was patent. Okay. Subsequently, Novartis did the study about the bioavailability in rats. It shows that as compared to free base, so it is bioavailability increases in the polymorph form. That is okay. The study showed that beta crystalline form of that got bioavailability in that. US started the patent in 2005. And 2001, US FDA also approved the for introduction in the Europe and US. Okay. So drug already introduced in 2001 in US and Europe. Whereas the patent was granted subsequently in 2005. Okay. This so far, so good. Okay. And then the India story starts from there. At the time when Novartis filed patent, we have not part of the TRIPS compliant. So there are what you call that not regime. They were mailbox. It was put in the mailbox business at that time. It was not opened at that time. Okay. So what if there is a mailbox is there, then company can ask for exclusive marketing rights. Pending the patent grant, given rights to sell in the country. So it applied for a EMR in 2003. Okay, and then the EMR was granted because there is no problem there because you have a patent, the anti-cancer agent, patent granted anywhere else. So you have given EMR in India in 2002. Okay, and the cost of the generics at that time generics were already there in the market for the anti-leukemic drug before the Novartis came into picture. they were being sold at about 16,000 rupees per patient per month. This is a generic drug. We have to use it for a year. You multiply 16,000 into 12. Huge money for even a middle class person in the country, leave alone the poor people in the country. Okay. Then once the OMR was given to the Novartis, Novartis tried to stop the generic sale in the country. Because you have actually the marketing right, nobody can sell you that. Okay. And Novartis set the price at 1.6 lakh per patient per month. 16,000 itself is a lot of money, and this is 160,000. Okay. Per month, mind you. Okay. This is where the fight started. Okay. So mailbox was opened in okay. And when the mailbox was opened, the control of patent control said it can't be patented, doesn't qualify the requirement of your novelty and non-obvious, doesn't fulfill. So he said rejected the patent application. Okay, that means the whole thing has gone for 6. They can't tell them a product range because it becomes generic because you don't have patent protection. Any generic company can make in the country and sell the product. So Novartis appealed the High Court about this rejection of the patent. Okay. But even while this was being discussed, government constituted the IPAB, Intellectual Property Appellate Board, to discuss this challenge of Novartis challenge of this rejection of patent by a assistant controller of patent. Okay. IPAB 2009 modified decision of the assistant controller and felt that patent it satisfies. The IPAB ruled that it satisfies the criteria novel non-obvious, but of course it rejected on the ground that it is not a new substance as per the criteria because amended because it is already a slightly modified version of the known compound. There is no novelty there. Okay, and then Novartis is unable to show any increase in efficacy of the drug. So on true ground they threw it out. Because there is not novel, does not show any significant efficacy with respect to the earlier compound. Okay, so it was thrown out by that. And then, so therefore the Novartis failed the test of 3D. So which I quoted there, and then that it was significantly properties without efficacy between the original one and the that was being claimed. On that ground it was thrown out. Okay, then what Novartis went to High Court about this efficacy business. That it is saying that under the Indian Patent Act, enhanced efficacy is unclear. How do you define enhanced efficacy in the Indian Patent Act? They said we don't agree with the definition given by the IPA. We want you to redefine. What do you mean by enhanced efficacy? Okay. So then the natural debate started about that. Okay. So company said these are the 3 things that we think are in favor of enhanced efficacy. One is the more beneficial flow properties, better thermodynamic stability and lower hygroscopy plus increased bioavailability. Based on this factor, we claim this is enhanced efficacy. Whereas the other people opposed said that efficacy as defined in the Indian Patent Act section 3D should be interpreted as therapeutic efficacy, not physical efficacy. It's not about how much of drug is available to the body inside, but how quickly it treats the cancer. Suppose your 40 mg was able to treat in the earlier version, then less than 40 should be able to treat the new one. Okay, that's what we call efficacy. More efficient, lesser dose can be used in the subject for treating the cancer. So that is not, that was not there. Dosage was shared between the old and the new. So in that aspect, it was same. So they did not have any argument there. So enhanced efficacy means only is understood. He said nobody knows what enhanced efficacy in the domain of IP. We use the words like but some conversion with the art, still of state of the art. Lot of vague terms in who is skilled in art? MSc, a PhD, 10-year experience as scientist, or person like me who is past 60. Not defined there. Certain things are deliberately kept it vague because to give the ability for the judiciary to interpret in what I call as the public good clause. Because every IP is meant to help the country, help the poor of the country, improve economy, improve access to medicines to people at affordable rate. That is the objective, ultimate goal. These all are the part of the process to reach that goal. If your patenting business doesn't help you to reach that goal, so it does, then you can interpret it in such a way that you throw it away. That's what they actually did. But they are not actually helping the objective of giving a patent in India to help the Indian citizens access the medicine. That was the logic the court took. So in 2007, the High Court said Indian Patent Act law is not vague. Section 3D is clear. It aims to prevent one ever-giving a patent. You want part of that ever-giving patent? Ever-giving is marginal addition to a patent, and you get more patent, you get 20 more years. You file a patent, 10 years later, you add something more, get another patent, so from then on you get 20 more years. It is not ever-giving patent. Okay. Prevent 3D aims to precisely prevent the evergreening, which the accused the novartis of doing only evergreening. There is no substantive innovation there. It is only addition, little bit addition, so it doesn't deserve to be given a new patent. Okay. And also, it doesn't promote access to this medicine patient because it is cost about 160,000, 1,06,000 per patient per month. Doesn't help at all. Nobody can buy that. Okay. And then so Novartis didn't challenge the High Court decision at that. It went straight to Supreme Court. Okay. So Supreme Court needed wisdom because it's a very critical issue here. On the one hand, India needs, this is where you must understand the wisdom of the judges. On the one hand, you require people to come to India, set up factories and make drugs available. Secondly, is of course the cheaper ones. If you put too tight IP regime, nobody will come to India. India will stand alone. So Supreme Court in the wisdom decided to look the case entirely in a new perspective. Totality to examine. Supreme Court examined the case in totality. De novo looking at the entire fact and the law. Okay. Court after analysis and prior patents and publication ruled that humanity facilitated itself is not new, but did not qualify the test. So the section of 21J and 21JA are the patent act. It said prima facie, it doesn't substantively come into that in quality innovation. But it left a window there. The court examined the beta-castellate form and it said that the beta-castellate form of methylcastellate being a pharmaceutical substance and moreover a polymorph of humanity facilitated, it directly runs into 3D. Yes, it doesn't conform to 3D, so it gets knocked off there. This case only. Okay. And applying the 3D, the court decided to interpret efficacy as a therapeutic efficacy or not physical efficacy. It's not just the availability, bioavailability of the body, but it is the efficacy of treatment. Can a lower dose treat the patient? No. So on that basis, it gets knocked out. Okay. But I just want to have a couple of points. I didn't have time to judgment there. What it says is, this is not the last interpretation of 3D. They said this interpretation of 3D is only for this particular case. In future, they may take a different, just to see that the global pharma industry does not say that India is trying to obstruct intellectual property protection in the country. Because we are part of the WTO regime. We are part of the TRIPS regime. So they said only for this case, this interpretation is valid. In future cases, they said on case-to-case basis, we will review the definition of 3D. Okay, so that's an interesting point. So that means maybe many of you may hear some more cases. Some more cases will go to the maybe IPAB or High Court. This is going to be an ongoing process of the 3D. The other thing about 3D is, you know, must have also heard about that Indian Patent Act 70 is one of the model laws in the world. In fact, more number of foreigners are written about IP 3D than Indians. Just look at the do literature search. Many people from US, elsewhere, have written about 3D, how good it is, and how it's a model law for the rest of the world. In fact, people have come to India to ensure that India does not dilute the component of the 3D in the Indian Patent Act, because this is going to be a model act for the rest of the world to make sure that the patent evergreening is discouraged, and also affordability, accessibility is the key factor behind IP regime. Not merely, yes, industry must make money, there is no problem there, but they should not be profiting at the cost of the access to medicine. One more thing I want to tell you, because you are going to be in this for long term. Look at the ongoing debate today about the drug price in the United States. United States, 40% of people cannot access medicine because of the cost. I am telling about the US. No, pardon? I am telling that in the United States, there is a debate going on about the cost of medicine today. Because medicines have become so expensive in the United States that 40% people who do not have insurance access are not able to buy medicine. But there is another interesting fact about US. Most drugs in the world are US based R&D. Substantial number, could be 80, could be 90%. So they are discovered in the United States. Okay, but do you know that from US people go to Canada to buy drugs? Because same drugs are cheaper in Canada than in
Sir, it is supporting medical tourism also.
That's a different issue.
Sir, I have a question, sir. If people are not accessible to life-saving drugs like people in USA are not. So, sir, this case can be taken to human rights also.
See, you can get the Human Rights Commission, but only thing, the issue is, two things are there. One is the US is the country which has a very strong IP regime. That's a law.
But sir, if it is for the humanity to save
No,
the
no,
life.
let me complete. Second thing is, you must understand, India has a drug price control regime. That means government can intervene and set the price of drug. US doesn't have any price regulatory mechanism. Industry can set, so government cannot do anything at all. Because US doesn't have a legal way of.
Sir, pricing is a different thing, but I am asking for the life-saving medicines which can. Sir, life is priceless, sir.
Suppose you go to court, what will say? What will say? Government should find a way of subsidizing medicine. You buy 1.6 to a lakh and you give them for 50 rupees. US government by law cannot reduce their price. That's what I am telling you. India is good because India has a price control regime. US doesn't have any price control regime. What only will say, yes, we are sympathetic with you. People should get medicine. What government should do is to buy those medicine 1.6 lakh and give them for free or whatever way. That's what I'm telling you. IP is a very complex subject. You have law, you have economy, you have science, you have also the human rights angle. All of them are there. So this Indian Patent Act Committee has been formulated primarily keeping what we said into consideration. Access to medicine, that was the primary drive. Whereas all other patent laws in the world are primarily driven through commerce, business driven. Okay, so that's not that. I just want to flag this issue that this access to medicine is a problem even in the most developed countries also, not only in India. So this part I want to tell. Now about 3D and Indian patent law, you must tons of material available in internet. You must only have time to download and read. Okay, but it's an interesting case, and I'm sure there will be many more case studies on this 3D. Okay, the next case study is on the Bayer versus platform. It also happens to be an anti-cancer drug, Nexavar. This is slightly different case. The Nexavar is patented by Bayer and Company, which is based in Germany. Okay, and then Bayer applied the patent in India in 2008. Here I told you a little while ago, people either inadvertently or casually do not do many things. So for example, if you enter into your office, you forget to punch. Oversight, but 1 month later somebody says you didn't come that day. Similarly, you can see here that under the Indian patent, you must know this also, that once you file a patent, every year you are supposed, this also is uniqueness of Indian Patent Act. You have to declare working only. Okay. If you don't work out, the Patent Act has so many things linked with that. So I am not going to at this point of time. So Control General has a declaration every year. Okay. But Bayer did not file that. 2008. Okay. And also Bayer did not manufacture drugs in the country. It was only importing. Two things, fact you must remember that. Okay. And then what happened was, NATCO is a company based in Hyderabad, which is expertise in anti-cancer drugs. So what these companies do is they keep on looking for opportunities to enhance their portfolio. So NATCO looked at the portfolio and said, this drug, there is a possibility of manufacturing in the country, although it's patented drug. What was the logic? The logic was, for 3 years, did not manufacture in India. Only selling from outside and importing and selling in India. So NATCO what it did was, they asked Bayer, please give voluntary license to manufacture in the country. That is the route you must follow. If you want going for compulsory license, you must first ask the company, can you please give us voluntary license? If the company refuses, you go to control, ask for compulsory license. So they asked the Bayer, please give us a voluntary license. And then they did not give. So they said, they went to patent, Control General Patent and said, give me a compulsory license because this fulfills the criteria for CL. Okay. Because for 3 years they did not file they did not work the patent in India. They were importing. Much more than that actually. We will get more details. So what NATCO claimed was, it fulfilled the provisions of Section 84 and 92 under the Act. Section 84, compulsory license says, any time after the expiration of 3 years from the date of the grant of patent, any person interested may make an application to the controller for grant of compulsory license on the following 3 grounds. 1. Reasonable requirements of the public with respect to patent invention are not been satisfied. That means India needs, if there are 1 lakh patients, and they should get at least 1 lakh doses must be there to all the 1 lakh patients. That is the requirement. It should be more than that, but cannot be less than that. That's the first criteria. Second criteria is that patent invention is not available to the public at reasonable affordable price. Depending on the, you have the GDP, average income, etc. etc. Basing on that, a person with cancer, if he is a poor person, he will be able to afford the drug with this kind of wages or with some kind of a support from related support from the government. Third is that every invention must be not working in the territory of India. So these are the 3 criteria NATCO used to challenge the Bayer and ask the government to give them compulsory license. Okay. Then what happened? So these I think we can skip that because this is not important, because there are other patents. I keep saying that God gives, God takes back. Yes? Similarly, government gives in patent, government also can take back. They must have told you about that also. So same thing, that this explains the same thing. Taking back the patent, and then some extreme circumstances, government also can take back the IP. Okay. Okay, then it went to controller and the Bayer's argument. See the Bayer's argument. Bayer says that, first thing he says that, why am I pricing at 1.6 lakh? It is because I spent a lot of money in R&D. Let's get back my money. How much money I have spent? I have spent about 2 billion, it costs about 2 billion euros to bring out a drug, which is nonsense basically. They have not enough studies to show that it is not true. It doesn't cost that kind of money to bring out a drug. Okay. And they said they have spent about 275 million to only on this drug, to R&D on this drug, and also they have spent $8 billion more to make sure that the drug works for other cancers also. Because this is for liver and kidney cancer. Other cancers we are working, so all the money we are investing, we want public to pay us back through 1.6 lakh per patient. That is the argument for that one they are given. And then the high cost is 2.8 lakh. I'm sorry, 2.8 lakh. 8 lakh per patient per month was for R&D, etc. And granting NATCO will affect public interest. I don't know what logic is there. Where is the Indian public? Because the interest there. So looting the people, 2.8 lakh per patient per month, and he is saying it doesn't work. So what the problem? You can say anything about the court. And then they also suggested that we have plans to give away drug to free to people, and also we want to enforce a graded payment. That means rich people will pay 2.8 lakhs, middle class people will pay 1.8 lakhs, food will pay probably 18,000 rupees, whatever. But that they have not implemented. They only said we have plans in our mind, but they have not taken off on the. They are still on the board. They have not taken off the ground. Okay. So this was the argument they gave. Actually, what are the actual facts? Actual facts are these guys introduced the drug in US in 2004. US has a system, what is the orphan drug system. Orphan drug system means which are the drug diseases which are very few in number. What happens is, pharma company enters only drugs which are available, used by everybody. Say for example, if there is a drug for reduction of pain, antibiotic, which everybody takes every day, millions will take. Suppose an antibiotic is there. Antibiotic is taken only those who have the infection and for a short period of time, 3 days to 7 days. It is a very limited market. So nobody wants to do R&D in antibiotics. That's a different issue. I am telling you I told you IP is market driven. The more market there is, how much, do you know how much money they spend on cosmetic, research on cosmetic? More than what they spend on pharma. Why? Every girl uses cosmetic. See this market. More market, more R&D, more sales. Okay, fairness cream already done by bicep. But the Bursa doesn't work. So they are just only making money, not in seeing that people have access to that. In this case, what happened was, orphan drug, this cancer was orphan drug category in the United States. That means lesser number of people were using it. So, US government gives you some incentive for that. 50% incentive it gives. So what happened was, in this 50% tax credit has got in the United States. How much the company made in 50? After ODD in 2006, 165 million, 2007, 371 million, 2008, 678 million. Total 1.2 billion in just 3 years alone, the company made money on the drug. Okay. On the global sales of 934, this point I want to make because India for them is a very small market. They want to make it into a high price drug bought only by the rich. The least bother about the poor. So that's why the price is very high. The so-called premium segment kind of a thing. Okay. They said there are actually in India at that time estimate was about 30,000 people require liver cancer and kidney cancer require this drug. How much were they making? I will show you data. Actually, so total demand is 20,000 for the liver cancer and 8,000 for the kidney cancer. So it at least got 30,000 doses. Okay, but actually it was assuming 80% demand even. Okay, let's think that 20% don't want to buy for whatever reason. It requires at least 23,000 bottles per month. But what actually Bayer has done is, it has imported 200 bottles in 2009 and none in 2000, no import in 2008, none in 2010. It has made it very premium kind of a drug so that only those who are rich can only, even all rich cannot afford 200 bottles only catered 200 per bottle only, 30,000 potential patients who require this. Okay. So that's why the company argued that Bayer did not fulfill the reserve requirement of the public during the time, as import is not even 32% demand. So 98% people do not even if they want to buy at 2.8, the drug is not available in the market because the company is not importing from the principal in Germany. Okay. So the argument was the government granted the patent in 2008, thinking that Bayer will fulfill obligation as a patentee to ensure that information works in the country, available to people, and affordable. That was the argument on which government gave you 20-year monopoly in the country in 2008. That Bayer did not fulfill their obligation. Government obligation was to give protection. Implementor obligation is to ensure that it works and as per the Indian law. So they did not fulfill their commitment. Bayer. Okay. The controller therefore judged that First is drug is exorbitantly priced, 2.8 lakhs. We have this majority patient. And also drug was available only in the 4 metropolitan cities: Delhi, Chennai, Kolkata and Mumbai. Even there is short supply. Because only 800 only vials were imported every year. So, considering this is not a cosmetic or a painkiller, this is a life-saving drug. So there is no option. You don't have option. You can have a one painkiller. You are take all the second, third, fourth, that doesn't have pain available in the market. Okay. So this is not a painkiller. This is a life-saving drug. And also 2.8 lakh per patient per month is cost an average man 300.5 years wages to at least 1 month of time. Just beyond the reach of many people in the country. That was the argument of the controller in terms of fulfillment of Bayer's obligation. So on this basis, the innovation not worked in the country. One, unaffordable. Second, third is the reasonable requirements of the number of doses with the way the number of patients. On the 3 grounds they did not fulfill, so he grants the compulsory license. The compulsory license was granted in 2012. These are the conditions of compulsory licensing. They said applicant has very limited rights to manufacture. Sell only in the country, sell only in India, not so. Second thing, NATCO cannot supply to another party. Only it has to sell. It can't give it to a second or third party. Non-assignable, non-exclusive right. That means you can't assert anybody else. We are your own. Okay. And CL cannot be sold only for treatment of liver and basal cancer, but nothing else. Exclusive for the only 2 indicated. That means the liver cancer, the liver cancer. Okay. NATCO cannot use the license to alternate or subsequent of the drug. NATCO has to pay royalty to the payer. Because here will you take means you pay royalty, but royalty was fixed reasonably. Mr. Kurian, who said he gave 6% royalty to the NATCO company based on the UNDP figure of 4% plus 4%. This is a reasonable amount of royalty. 6% royalty is a good royalty for company to be given. Okay, I think these were discussed already. Again, naturally the company Bayer went up to it appealed to the IPAB. Okay, and IPAB also, did not support the Bayer. It appealed the judgment to compulsory license to NATCO. Okay, this shows you the price. This 2.8 lakhs in this year there, and then supply is 9% of the 10% of the cost, and NATCO is 3%. I believe there is available for 6,000 now. What happens is when more people manufacture, price naturally will come down. You understand it is now about 6,000 available. So this is the kind of situation where you have access to the life-saving drug. Okay, but the another issue in this compulsory license issue here is that the errors companies make and how clever the NATCO company was. NATCO was scouting. Tomorrow when you some of make the jobs in pharma companies. What they do always, they look for the product available in the world. What my company can manufacture. So they look at the intellectual property, what they do, data mining they do, and then they do the analysis, IP analysis they do, and then see that which drug is there, when its patent is going to expire, where is the market available, the potential for me to get into this kind of a thing. So analysis of IP is very important for it. All of you may not get in law firm. Some of you may get into pharma sector also. It's good to have this kind of knowledge about patent analysis. So it is called patentometrics. Note down the term there. It's called patentometrics. Patentometrics means a study by which you analyze patent for their value. Patentometrics is going to be a very big area in the next 20-30 years in the country. Because the patents are being filed all over the world. You become analyst of patent, it will have very good opportunity for you to succeed in the company. Two things are there. One is the patent metrics and IP management. IP management means how to assess patents and then see who is patent filing, how much patent you must keep, how many you must discard. So the patent filing maintenance is an expensive business. Costs a lot of money. On average, the US patent costs something anything between 8 to 10 lakhs. And then you have to maintain for 20 years. So if there are 100 patents, the company will end up spending some 30-40 lakhs every year only on patent maintenance. So company has a policy of assessing the value of the patents and weeding out which are not important. Every company, this is called IP management. Some of you may get IP management job also. This kind of thing. So I must keep all options open because all of you may not get jobs into how many firms in India anyway? There are not many firms. Getting saturated. So expand your knowledge base. So to fit into with this grounding in patenting, you must expand into already have grounding in science. You want to get extra knowledge in patenting. So add on to it, patentometrics, IP management, etc. You probably will be able to expand your scope for getting a job in an industry. Industry doesn't take basically people because they always give it to a patent officer, patent attorney, they get it done. But this is a specialized job. Patentometrics, IP management is a specialized job which no attorney will be able to do it. So one opportunity for you to do that. Now let's conclude the discussion. So patents are essentially national. You can have your own patent law as long as you don't sign international agreement. If you are not signed TRIPS agreement, you should have 7 years patent for drug pharmaceuticals, no product patent. Because they are part of the multilateral treaty, we have to change our laws to conform with international. But there is a thing, you have heard a term called TRIPS plus. You will note on the TRIPS plus also. What they are trying to do is TRIPS plus. TRIPS, CRIPS, trade related activity intellectual property right plus PLUS. What it means primarily is many countries like USA, Switzerland, Japan are trying to push the patenting beyond the TRIPS mandate. They are trying to see TRIPS plus means they are trying, making effort to see that the patent laws become much more stringent so that the MNCs benefit. So TRIPS plus of the download material and look at it. So that is the current trend in the world is to have a regime which is TRIPS plus. All the which these countries are pushing for a TRIPS plus regime. So, but still, patent law being national, so Indian Patent Act was able to make it people friendly at the same time complying with the TRIPS obligation. So the issue that international companies are raising is the Indian patent law TRIPS compliant or not, or violating TRIPS? There is another thing called Doha Declaration. Doha Declaration essentially TRIPS interpretation in terms of affordability, human rights, pluralization, human rights. This TRIPS Doha Declaration essentially looks at balancing human rights with the patent protection and making money. Okay, so this is the important component of Indian Patent Act, which is the model act all over the world. Okay. Second issue is you must comply with stipulations of multilateral treaty. That all of us know we cannot, but to make sure that the compliance is there, at the same time keeping the public good in mind. Okay, and then trade drives global equilibrium. It's always the industry which try to enforce intellectual property regime on countries like India also. Because they say if you don't allow to trade our goods, we will not give access to market. There are also things called tariff barriers, non-tariff barriers, which are decided primarily by countries based on how much you allow them to. If you don't allow US to sell their goods in the country liberally, they put a stop there and you can't export cotton to us. Essentially, key to the IP issue is the economic commerce, trade. That's why we call it trade-related intellectual property rights. IP is meant to promote trade. Unwritten thing is about the rich countries into import into the poor countries. Okay. And then Indian patent considered the model. Already told you about that. And national interest is supreme. Nothing can ever substitute national interest. Because that's what we want. IP should be relevant, important, significant, useful, and to our countries, not the rest of the world. Okay, this is where I stop. Thank you very much for your attention.